All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Unknown Pro. Today, I have a very special guest, someone who I love very much, and it's Amanda Chidester. What's up, Chiddy?
Hey, I didn't know that was the name of your podcast, The Unknown Pro, huh?
That's it. Yes. Yes.
That's
That's the
hilarious.
name of it.
It's
I know.
very Sam Fisher, very Sam Fisher.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Um, so I am so excited to talk to you about some of the stuff that we have planned. How are you doing right now during this whole pandemic?
You know, it's been a whirlwind of emotions, I would to say the least, just from our tour just coming to just a stop, like boom, like it's just over. Like that was
Yeah.
pretty crazy. I mean, just like you went from one day looking at the schedule being like, oh my gosh, like look at how much we have left, and it's we're doing this and this, and we got to go here and here, to nothing. So that was pretty crazy, because every day when we got sent home, every day there was new news coming out, different news, what's going to happen. So there was just so many unknowns, and we all know as humans how we feel about unknowns. It's not the
Yeah.
most pleasant feeling. But I've been able to spend some quality time with my family, and just take it one day at a time, and keep learning more and more about myself. And just my motto has just been keep moving, like just don't stop, do a lot. And when you come out of this, it's not going to seem as bad as it could be if I just sulked and did nothing, or just wore myself into the ground and try to keep up with everything. So I'm trying to find that happy medium of just staying consistent with things. And I feel pretty confident about it. I always tell the kids that I've been talking to on these Zoom calls that, like, if you believe in what you're doing and you can buy in fully to it, then you're going to be better off in the end than if you're like kind of half in, half out, with wishy-washy with what you've been doing to kind of keep up with things.
That's, what's so funny is as you were saying all that stuff, it kind of just reminds me of your everyday life in general. Do you feel like
Mhm.
this has kind of solidified how you already feel about your day to day, or do you feel like it's enhancing it, or has it changed at all?
It's challenging it a little bit more, in the sense that I'm used to, I love working out. And so for me, I love just putting my body to like the absolute limit each day. And that piece is missing a little bit. But other than that, I mean, I feel like, yeah, my days are very similar. Like, I'm very intentional about my days. I'm very, you know, what's gonna make me better. And before all this, I would have trouble sometimes. I love reading, but then to actually sit and read is
Right.
my biggest battle. So I'm still facing a lot of the similar things. But one thing that I have learned during all of this pandemic is that it's kind of crazy, because everything has stopped, right?
Yeah.
And before, you're doing all these things. I've accomplished different things, and so everyone's coming to you because they think that I have answers, because I've found success, right?
Yeah.
And so, and then now during this pandemic, people keep coming to me for answers. Like, I mean, we're in the same situation. I mean, we're
Right.
all faced in the same situation. So, and then on social media, there's all these different things, right? You see all these people doing all these different things. So you start questioning yourself with different things, right? And then there's some negative self-talk and all these things. But then at the end of the day, it's all on you, right? It's all on what did I feel satisfied with at the end of all of this? What worked for me, and what can I go to sleep with at night, right? Because
Yeah.
at the out of all of this, like, softball, nothing else exists anymore but me and myself, and how
Yeah.
I think about myself and what I represent, and myself into this world, and how I am as a human. So like, that's the stuff that matters at the end of all of this. And so I realized, like, wow, if I feel like, doing my stretching and some of my activation things is what's best for me today, and that's what's keeping me, then that's what's best. But
Yeah.
Sally over there, may have something completely different, and that's okay too, because that's working for her. So
Right.
that's kind of what I figured out, like, more of, just to solidify that it's just you at the end of all of this. So if you can be satisfied with what you're doing, then that's half the battle.
That's so true. I remember when it first started and people were posting, here's what I'm trying to make my day look like. And it'd be 7 o'clock this, 9:30 this, accomplish this. And I almost felt like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my God, all I did today was work out and read 35 pages in my book. Am I failing? Because like you said,
Exactly.
it's easy to look at that and see, hey, like you said, Sally's doing this and Sam's doing this. One is not right and one is not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It's what's best for you as a person, because that was such a good point, that nothing else exists other than yourself right now. There's
It's
no
true.
gym, there's no field, there's no
Mm-hmm.
movie theater, there's nothing. So it's just you.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
that's
it was like,
awesome.
we had a conversation and you're like, well, you don't have to feel pressured to write a book or something right now. And you're right. Like, and for a moment I did feel that way. Like, I need to be inspired. Like, I need to come up with something great. But it's like, no,
Yeah,
like, something great happens when you do things consistently over a long period of time, and you're intentional about it. That's when you see results at the end, not just from one moment of all of a sudden just, you know,
that's
feeling
so
like this
true.
huge, yeah, rush come over you, and then, whoa, a book is made. Like, no, like, it's just like, consistent things over time, like, things
Right.
will come of it.
That's so awesome. I'm inspired. Keep doing what we're doing, because at the end of the day, if you're happy with what you did and you feel like you're working for yourself, like for yourself and on yourself, what more can you be asking for at this point?
Yeah. I
You go.
I was gonna say one more thing, because
Yeah.
someone just said it the other day, and it was so, I was just like, wow, that is so spot on. Because, we were talking about, being pro in softball, and
Hmm.
they're like, well, why don't you try being pro in life? And because the game can get taken away from you, your job can get taken away from you, all these things
Right.
can get taken away from you. But if you become pro at life and pro with yourself, then you can be in any situation and be okay. And I was like, whoa, that's
That
it.
that is super spot on.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That just keeps in mind that everything is interchangeable, except for at the end of the day, you're answering to yourself. You're just
Mhm.
hanging out with you.
Answering to yourself, absolutely.
I love it. So to transition into what I kind of wanted to talk to you about, I wanted to give everyone a bio, and I wrote it down. It cramped my hand with all these bullet points of the things that you've done in your softball career. So you went to Michigan, you graduated in 2012. You were two-time NSCA All-American and two-time Big Ten Player of the Year. You made Team USA for the first time in 2012, which I'd say was a great year for the both of us.
Yes, for a great friendship was made during that year.
The seeds were planted. Um, from since then, you played for Scrapyard 2016, and you just signed actually this week or last week to play your second season with Chicago Bandits.
Mhm.
And you played in the Japanese Pro League in 2015 for Toda. Last year, 2019, you're MPF Player of the Year, MPF Offensive Player of the Year, and the Home Run Queen. And now you are a member of the Olympic team. Did I miss
Yes.
anything?
Well, I did sign with Athletes Unlimited, so.
Yes, yes, you did. It hasn't been officially announced yet, so I didn't know if I should say it yet.
Oh,
But
there
I
you
don't
go.
know.
Well, I signed the papers, so we can make it officially right
Great,
now.
great, and just signed with Athletes Unlimited for the 2020 inaugural season.
Mhm.
I did forget something, and best friend of Sam Fisher since 2012. That'd be fair to
Absolutely,
say.
yes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
I should have put that first.
Did you play that I played in Italy too?
No, oh my God, and you played in Italy.
And we won
How
the
could I forget that?
championship there.
That was, wow. What a big thing to leave out.
Yeah, that was a wild moment.
I know. Wow, that's weird. I'm a terrible journalist. So
No,
here we
it's
go.
okay, we're good.
um,
You hit the most important point, that we've been best friends since 2012.
I could have just said that and left out everything
Yeah,
else, right?
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
so one thing I really wanted to talk to you about, because you and I are very alike in a lot of ways, but we're also very different in a lot of ways, and I think that's really cool because I've learned a lot from you based on how you grew up, the things that you did, your mindset on things. The way that they differ from me, I feel like I've been able to grow. And so one thing that is super different between the two of us is that you were a multi-sport athlete all the way through high school, right?
Mhm.
and I specialized at 12. I chose to play softball only from 12 on. And I think right now that's a really big conversation of, should athletes do one or the other? Should they be multi-sport? Should they specialize? And I would love for you to just kind of tell everybody um, your journey through playing multiple sports, and then we can kind of get talking on different stuff about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, should you not? It just goes back to everything that we just talked about, you know. What do
Right.
you want to do? You know, if you
Mm-hmm.
have a burning desire to play multiple sports, then play multiple sports, because at the end of the day, like, I'm a true believer in, if you're happy and you're motivated, then it's not going to take away from you getting better in a particular sport.
Right.
So for me, I played, basketball, volleyball, and softball from middle school all the way through. And I loved playing the three sports. Absolutely loved it, because for me, I loved taking a break. Like, I'm a huge
Yeah.
person in the mental side, and having a mental break and even a physical break on your body. And I really feel like playing different sports helped me be more athletic in softball or whatever sport you decide to choose.
Yeah.
And so for me, I was just talking to a travel ball team yesterday, and one of the girls asked me, if you could go back to your travel ball days or high school days around their age, um, what's something that you would want to change so that you could, be better, or something that you would fix, And I
Okay.
look back and I'm like, honestly, I thought that I did everything okay. Like, I
Nice.
bought into the approach I took, and so I told her, though, that the secret that I think that made me take off in all my sports, because I was successful in all three, and what took me to the next level in all of them was my ability to be present in the sport. So, for example, when it was volleyball season, I was all in for volleyball. Like, I was motivated, all in to be the best volleyball player I could be on the court. And then my basketball, maybe I'd play in the backyard with my brothers or just kind of mess around. And softball, you know how softball is, like, you always have practice on Sundays. So, like,
Yeah.
I'd have those practices. But it was volleyball season. So volleyball was my number one priority. Like,
Mhm.
I gave everything I could in volleyball to get down my spike and get my serve down. Like, I was
Mhm.
motivated to be the best out there. And that was the thing too. I was motivated to be the best in everything that I did. And then when it was basketball season, I was laser focused all in for basketball. I mean, I'll never forget moments where I would, like, cry because I didn't wanna go to softball practice, and my parents,
Wow.
like, "We paid for this, like, you're going to softball." And the thing is that as much as I cried and put up a fuss and I'm tired and I have homework and this and that, the second I walked through those doors, I was, like, the happiest person ever,
Right.
and I was all in to get better at softball. Like, I knew that I wasn't in my tip-top shape when I'd go in there, and sometimes, obviously, it'd be frustrating, but I still gave it everything that I had. So
Mhm.
I felt like, because I could, be in volleyball, be in basketball, and then be in softball, when it came softball time, I was like, I was so ready. Like, I was so ready to just, like, give me more. And I was motivated all through, our season, and then into travel ball, of just like, I want to get better. I want to get better. I want to get better. And then I would, obviously take a break to play my other sports and then get back to it. So I personally loved it, because I love being active, and I love doing different things. I love the different teammates I got to experience, and all of that. But like I said, I think that the key for me when playing those other sports was that I was able to be present. I wasn't thinking about my friends. I wasn't thinking about what was going on here or there. Like, I was
Yeah.
solely just thinking about, what are you telling me, and how can I get better from this, at my practices. So I think that was, like, the
Yeah.
biggest thing. But I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. Like, I look back and I would do three sports all over again. I mean, if I had the power to play basketball in college, I would have
Yeah.
loved to.
I know every time you see a basketball, it's like a little kid in a candy shop. I like, that's one of my favorite things is whenever there's a basketball, you're like, okay, we gotta go. We have to play right now.
Yeah, I love
Um,
basketball.
do you think that living in Michigan had an effect on your, like, had any impact on the decision to play multiple sports? Because reasonably, you can't play softball year round, like in California, Arizona, those kind of places. Do you think that that made some impact?
Yeah, maybe. And I think that the pressures of other people, everyone, not everyone, because there were definitely a select few that just played one sport, but
Mhm.
no one told me that I just had to play softball. Like
Mhm.
I, it wasn't a thing then either. And I think that if it was a thing, I would have been like, no, I'm not giving up, basketball and
Yeah.
volleyball. My senior year, I did have some shoulder issues. So I did have to give up volleyball my senior year, which I
Mhm.
was like, I did not want to do, but I was
Yeah.
going to be going to Michigan. Like I needed to have a fresh shoulder because the overhand from throwing and the overhand from spiking
Yeah.
was just a lot of strain on my shoulder. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, maybe it does. But I mean, Michigan has so many like indoor places and
That's
different things
true.
like that that they keep things going with. So I don't know. Knowing the personality that I am and how much I love playing other sports, I don't think that it would have affected me. I think maybe the pressures of other people would have weighed on me a little bit, but I think I still would have made the decision of playing multiple sports.
What was the transition like for you going from playing three sports to then going to college and just playing softball? Did you feel burnt out? Did
It,
you feel like you were ready for that transition?
yeah, I felt like it was probably the best thing I could have done because now all I do is eat, breathe, and live softball, and that's all
Right.
it was in college.
Yeah.
So I was ready for that because that wasn't my whole life, It
Mhm.
became my life in college. It wasn't my life growing up. So it's not like I've been, you know, sleeping, breathing, and, playing softball since I was 12 years old. It's been since I've
Right.
been 22 or 18,
Right.
19. So
Right.
it's a little bit different in that sense. So I
Yeah.
was ready. I was ready to just be all in with softball.
That's so great. It's so cool because you played multiple sports and you're on the Olympic team. And then there's girls who specialize and are on the Olympic team or still reach their goals. So if you had, I think I know your answer, but if you had a young athlete coming to you saying, I don't know what to do. I like playing both of these sports, but I really want to go to college for this sport. Like, what's your advice to somebody who is playing multiple sports or wants to play multiple sports? Um, what do you say to them?
So the thing is, motivation, in my opinion, it comes and it goes, right?
Yeah.
It's something internal and it's something that it has to come from you, right? So it doesn't matter what people tell you. It doesn't matter what mom and dad says. It matters what you feel about it and what you think about it. So
Hmm.
I think that you have to ask yourself deep down, like, yeah, it's going to be tough, but do you have things you want to achieve in basketball and or well, I'm going to use basketball as an example,
Yeah.
or do you have things that you want to achieve in softball? And if you do, you're going to wake up every day and you're going to want to be the best and achieve those things. So the work becomes easy because it's something
Yeah.
that you're desired and you're desiring and you want to go for. So it's just a question if you want to ask yourself. It's just, it puts a little bit more on your plate, but I don't think it's impossible. It's just like you have to understand that maybe you have to work a little harder, and that's okay because
Right.
you're willing to do it because you love both the sports or three of the
Hmm.
sports or whatever it is. So in your mind it's worth it to you that you're going to be all in whatever you're doing. And if you're a little bit behind, maybe work a little harder, right? Like it's just the
Yeah.
price that you pay for something that you're wanting, that you're trying to go for, or whatever it is. But it's all a mindset. Like if you want it, then there's no stopping you from doing it. Just go for it.
Yeah.
And if you're not as good as you need to be, then how do I get better at it? And that's what you have
Yeah.
to constantly ask yourself. Where's my weaknesses, and where can I get better?
Yeah. How was it? You have four brothers. Did they play sports at the same time you were playing all these sports?
Yeah, my parents are crazy.
I was gonna ask, how did that function?
Yeah, so I mean it functioned where maybe my mom would take someone to their games, my dad would take someone to their games, and maybe they I had to get a ride with someone. Most of the time my brothers had to get a ride. I usually got on with the kids. Being the only girl, I did get some special treatment, I'm not gonna lie. um but yeah, so it was definitely chaotic with all of our schedules. But I mean when we were younger, it was great in the sense that we got to play with each other. And I mean, I will never forget all the battles we had in the backyard with the basketball, playing
Yeah.
2-on-2, with my brother's friends or one-on-one and just getting after it. I mean, I can't tell you how many jam fingers I had
Oh
playing
my
with them in the
gosh, I can't even
backyard.
imagine.
Yeah, and then I mean, even playing football and stuff, like, if I wanted to play with them, like, I had to keep up with them, and I really wanted to play with them, so that, I know, made me better in the end because it was like, I couldn't sit there and cry and pout, like, I just had to get up and go again if I wanted to keep playing with them.
Yeah. Gosh, that must have been crazy. I
Yeah,
can't
it
even
was you should
imagine.
no, yeah, the household was insane, I can't, it's chaos, constant chaos, I
Yeah.
constant chaos, but, the best, like, loving, great way,
Right.
but just everyone doing everything because we all played sports, we all
Right.
were all over.
Right. Yeah, that's something that I know is a big part of the conversation between playing more than one sport versus playing one is the toll that it might take on a family. You know, like with
Yeah.
siblings. Like if, for instance, my brother didn't play sports. He played basketball his freshman year of high school, but then that was pretty much it. So I was the sole athlete in the family. So is everything focused on what's Sam's sport? You know, what is this going to do? You know, this weekend, where are we going for the games? Where is this? Where is that? So, um, does it? Do you think that it has the ability to take a toll on a family like that with having all that scheduling?
No, it totally does, but again, and
Yeah,
then it goes back to being a human being and making priorities and making commitments. I mean,
yeah,
I can't tell you how much my parents sacrificed, but they wanted it to be that way. They wanted to put
yeah,
the kids first. And I mean, they did. And I know that they lacked friends and they lacked their time and all that. But when
yeah,
they look back and see, how, what we've all done, like, I mean, all five of us have all gone after things that we absolutely love. And that is so cool to see that, you have five kids and all five of them are
yeah,
successful in their own ways and what they want to do and they're happy. It's awesome. And
yeah,
that just goes to show that, because my parents committed, to for their kids to be put first, how much that impacts, a kid and
yeah,
how they're grown up. And so, yeah, it was hectic for my mom and dad, 100%. There was so many different struggles, but like I said, they were so all in for putting us first that, um it became like, we'll find a way. They always would find a way. And so
yeah.
it's inspiring. It really is because,
It is.
just hanging out with my 2-year-old nephew and the constant, that's like, well, do I get any like time for myself? Like, no, like, it doesn't happen
You don't.
anymore.
And you know what's funny is thinking back on it and even looking at all the friends and all the great friends that I have, I met because of softball. I met because of
Yeah.
sport. And I think about some of my parents' friends. They were softball players' parents that are
Yeah.
now their friends. So, you know, a lot of time you talk about when you're striving to be an elite athlete or you're pushing yourself and you're athlete minded, you give up a social life, and that can be said for the player, that can be said for the parents, but then you look back on it, I feel like I had a booming social life.
Hmm.
You go to the hotels and you're
You have
hanging out with,
built-in friends.
you have built-in friends that you are automatically seeing at least 3 or 4 times a week. Shoot, now that we have to try to make plans to hang out with friends, I have a terrible social life. And
It's really hard.
it's so hard. It's so hard. We don't have
Yeah.
practice right now, so I don't have a social life. That's that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, too, your parents, even if it's chaos, they're still going and they're meeting people and they're making friends. Who are they sitting with at the games? So
Hmm.
that's awesome. And I think it's cool because your parents made the decision together that this is what they wanted. They both wanted you guys to have what you wanted to have. And I think that that's huge, especially now that we're older and we're in relationships and thinking about kids one day in the very, very far, far future. Um, Thinking about that because I'm sure if your mom or your dad didn't want that, that would have been really, really difficult.
Oh yeah, I mean, I feel like we'd all be in a whole different situation right now if they made other decisions other than putting us first. I mean,
Yeah.
completely. I mean, it got to the point where they wanted us to have the best education that we could. So they made a sacrifice and put us all in Catholic schools growing up. So can you
Yeah.
imagine five kids all going to private schooling and
No.
then us all playing travel sports? Like it just was, I know it was a strain on them, but I mean, look, it just, it did pay off in the end because now they get to
Yeah,
see like all their kids so happy. And then, you know, it's, yeah, it's pretty remarkable.
it is cool. And, then they get to go to Tokyo to watch the Olympics.
Yeah, or, travel, they've been all traveling all over the world because of, us kids, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So in a way, them putting you guys first and giving you guys those things that you wanted and playing all the different sports, they kind of created a new life for themselves too. It's
Hmm.
the travel especially. I mean, when are you going to go to these places other than to watch a
Yeah.
sports game? That's so
For
cool.
sure.
Tell people what it was like growing up, the middle child, number one, but the only girl and having two older brothers and two younger brothers. Talk about chaos.
I know, I know. I mean, it's funny because it's at some point it's all that you know, so it doesn't seem
Yeah,
like it's
that's true.
chaos like during it. I mean, yeah, when my brothers would be mean and I'm in the room crying and this and that. Like, I mean, there's just so many little, things that have happened. But I don't know, like it was exciting. It was constant. No wonder why I love doing things all the time because there was always
Yeah,
something to do in a house of five.
yeah,
Or someone to hang out with or, whatever it may be. But it was fun. It was fun. I No one really ever asked me that specific of how that was, honestly. So kind of racking my brain of
yeah,
some different moments. I mean, there's always stories. There's always someone
yeah,
into something. I can name so many stories of us getting into trouble or us maybe doing something and like hiding. Like, I mean, you name it, it's happened.
yeah.
And all the bike rides, all the scrapes, all the on the front lawn. I remember us playing, we played wiffle ball on the front lawn, we played football on the front lawn. And then there'd be points where we'd be throwing the football over the house to each other or the baseball back and forth, like, oh, it's coming.
Oh
So
my
we
God.
always found a way to hang out and be active in
I love
any
it.
way
Do
that
you
we
think,
could.
right? Do you think that it aided your competitive nature? Do you think that
Oh, 100%.
yeah, like if you were already a competitor, that's one thing, but maybe it propelled you to another level of competitive nature because you were always, playing with your brothers.
Oh, yeah, and I hated losing to them, and it was
Yeah.
just, like, because they were older and they were boys, I mean, sometimes, don't get me wrong, like, I'd beat them sometimes, and I was just like, "Oh my," it's that feeling of, like, "Yes!"
Yeah.
But they kept, they wouldn't back down on me, and it's like, "Dang it!" So,
Yeah.
yeah, it did definitely bring a big competitive piece to it.
And that probably helped you prepare for what you were to face in the future,
Oh,
like
100%, and
when
they like to take all the credit for some of my success sometimes, those
I can
boys.
picture it. I can picture it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
And
that's
it's kind of cool too. They're all so different, right? They all have such different personalities and they've helped me even to this day in so many different ways. If I want to talk about mentality and the mindset, I go to my brother RJ. Like I love
mhm.
like getting on he's a football coach, so like we can go to a whole nother level. Just like experiencing like life and hanging out and all those things. I love Trevor and Matt are perfect just to go and
Yeah.
experience different things. And if I ever needed help with homework, like Trevor was my go-to person for that. And then Brandon, like we talk about like business things and maybe real estate stuff or investing stuff. Like he's really into business and all of those things. So if I have a question, maybe with a business deal or a contract, like I'm calling him like, hey, like what do you think? And he's like, well, I have a professor that's the head of this, so let me
Oh
ask
my
him and,
God.
and I'll get back to you. So like it's been a real big huge team effort, like all of since growing up all the way till now, that we've been able to keep that great relationship as we got older of what it is. But I like that I've been able to build that relationship with each of them. Now to say that they all have relationships with each other, it's a different story. They're just so different.
That's so cool. I'm trying to think of how, relating it to sport in that how gosh, how versatile and how diverse it is, all the different people that play sports, right? And even just talking about your brothers, they really are. They're all so different and you're different from them
Hmm.
too, but you guys all had sport, and you all developed your own personalities and your own likes, dislikes, your interests, your morals, all those different things developed individually. And I think that that's so cool that you really appreciate those parts because you appreciate those parts of people who aren't related to you also.
Hmm.
Do you think Do you
Yeah.
think learning all the differences of them and learning how that can make you closer, do you think that that has helped you in building friendships and relationships outside of your family?
Absolutely, like, even with my teammates, like, just taking that time to, get to know a teammate for who they are, it makes all the difference in the world. Like, there's so many times where you can judge someone and think that the way that they are and how they play and how they come off, it's just like it's so easy to be like, ugh, like, they think that they're so, like, whatever, like, there's so many different
Mhm.
things that a girl could say, but if
Yeah.
you truly take the time to, like, hear their story and ask them questions about them and really listen, it's just like, wow, like, there's a whole different level of respect for people when you truly get to know them and know their why and know the reasons, why they do the things that they do or what motivates them or why they're even playing the sport or whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy because so many times you can see a difference between people could be what draws you, like pushes you apart versus what could draw you closer, you know?
Absolutely, yeah.
And you and I are such good friends. We've been such good friends for a really long time. And I wouldn't argue that we're extremely similar.
No, not even close. We have
We're,
so many. But that's the
it's,
thing is, like, we love bouncing ideas off of each other because we think
yeah,
in completely different ways, and you can value that, like, but you also have to be honest with yourself and be okay with, like, someone maybe not agreeing with you or someone maybe believing in something different. Like, it's okay to agree to disagree and still respect someone for what they, value or whatever it may
yeah,
be.
yeah, that's so true. And I think it's a good thing for everybody to, whether you're in sport, whatever you're in, just even knowing that, because it can enhance so much just accepting
Absolutely.
that. Because it'd be boring if everyone was the same.
Exactly. Life would be really boring.
So I want to finish up our conversation talking about what we touched on a little bit in the beginning is you were getting ready to go to the Olympics, something
Mm.
that you've been dreaming about, obviously. And all of a sudden you're not doing that now, but you do have a date for next year. Um, how did that feel as far as, actually, first, when did you start dreaming to be an Olympian?
I don't know. When I was a kid, so it's crazy because sometimes I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if it's like sometimes I'm so in the moment that I don't retain a lot of things sometimes or remember the things I say or what it is about me. I haven't quite figured that out yet. But one of my best friends from high school, Christine, she was like, when I made the team, she goes, I'll never forget when we were in school, you told me and a group of people that you were gonna be an Olympian someday, and we all thought you were crazy. And I was like, wait, did I really say that? Like,
Oh
I
my
don't
God.
remember saying that because I was always so driven with like the things that I was doing like in those moments like in high school it was like we were working every day towards winning a state championship, and then I was working towards being a starter at Michigan, then working towards being an All-American or winning the national championship or winning the Big Ten title, right? I was always like in those like close things to go for and then making a new one and then making another new one. So
Gotcha.
I don't recall saying those things when I was younger, but they did come out of my mouth. My parents have told me it came out of my mouth a few times as
Wow.
well. Yeah. But I would say that it wasn't something really until my junior year in college where I was just like, I seen, different college players getting asked to go. And I'm like, I should be one of those people. And I want to be one of those people. And then I
Mhm.
got invited my senior year and that was like, that was it, and I know that you and I played together for, several years, and we would always have the conversations about like, is it going to get back in? Are we going to still be playing then? Are we going to want a family by then? Or are we going
Yeah.
to still play? Are we not going to play? Should we be done? I think we're feeling like we should be done. And
On
I
so
mean,
many times.
just so many roller coasters of emotions. Are we going to do this? Or are we not? And then, when it got back in, it was like, okay, like let's go for it. Um, so I would say that in 2016 is when it was just like laser focus of that is where I want to be and that is where I'm going. So I would say since then it's just been like a like all in type of thing. So
That's awesome. I love that because it's different than how I think, because I always have the short-term goals, but then what is the long-term goal? So you're more of a short-term goal, make as you go kind of
okay,
person.
keep building on them, keep building on them, keep
Right.
building on them. With I mean, obviously in the back of my head, maybe I know something greater, but I'm just like
Right.
still like I'm going after those ones.
Right. Because
Yeah,
ultimately, you have be an Olympian as, a big time, maybe lifetime goal, but you maybe never said that it was, well, to yourself maybe, or that you remember, but all the little goals that you made along the way were just those stepping stones that ended up
exactly.
getting to this
It's the
point,
process, it's the journey part of it, it's the everyday part of it, it's the consistent
right?
habits part of it, all of that.
Yeah. So how have the last 4 years been for you in this
You
journey?
know, they've been a whirlwind to say the least. So I made the team in 2016.
Mhm.
I actually broke my wrist. I got hit by a pitch, which was pretty crazy because that was like a like
Ugh,
life flashing moment of my career. But
yeah.
all ended well. Had a great surgeon, all good, a full range of motion. Like life is good. Got ready and was back for the 2017 season. On the team, played that summer, and then in 2018, I actually got put on the second team, and that was kind of like a big like, whoa, what just happened there? Because it never
Mhm.
happened to me before ever in my life where I was, had to face adversity with not making a team.
Mhm.
So that was like a big moment for me, but it was okay. Like I kept going, I was
Mhm.
fine. And then I got cut completely from the team in 2019. And that was like, oh my gosh, like Olympics are in 2020. And I just got cut from the team in 2019. Like this is
Yeah.
like, oh gosh, right? So I had to do a lot of self evaluating and self reflection and a lot of like honesty, hard conversations with myself, and a lot of like ownership of, what it is that I want and how I need to lock in and give it everything with no regrets and do everything diligently, like the right way, like no shortcuts, like zero, you know, oh,
Mhm.
it should be fine if I do this. Yeah, like no, like this is what
Yeah.
it takes and this is what I need to do every single day. Um, and then I played for the Bandits, had a great summer with the Bandits, and then I had to try out in October, and it was like, I literally gave it everything that I had. I had a great season in the MPF. I felt like I showed what I needed to show, and I ended up making the team. So that was like, oh, like a huge relief, and like, I don't know, just so many different emotions in that tryout. It's crazy. And I know
Yeah.
Sam, those feelings. They're out of control.
Yeah, you
Um,
don't even know what
but
to call them.
no, it's so weird. But yeah, so then I got back on the team. So now it's just like, but I'm not changing anything from like in 2019 when I had to have those hard conversations with myself and make those different commitments. Like it's not like I'm putting on the brakes right now at all. It's like it's still all in with what I know I need to do to be at my absolute best to be able to perform on that highest stage and represent USA the way that it should be represented.
That's amazing. And I think what's important is that you're acknowledging that the work isn't done. And I think a lot of
Hmm.
people think that once I get to this, then I can relax. Or once I get to this, then I don't have to work so
Yeah.
hard. But what you're
Nope.
saying is, and what you've learned, what we've learned is that it never stops. Not when you
No.
commit to college, not when you step on campus, not when you are an All American, not when you're a
Mm-mm.
USA member. It never stops. And what got you here is what got you here for a reason. So why would you change it? You want to
Exactly.
not only make the team, but you want to be an impact on the team. When they call on you to hit or to go play out in the outfield, when they call on you for anything, you want to be ready to be successful for the team. So
Hmm.
then that's great. Do you think that because you faced that adversity, that's why you made the team, the Olympic team?
Yeah, and it just all around better human being too. Like I was doing really good with, who I was and all these things, but I was just kind of like I felt like at a maybe not a standstill, but like a little bit. Like I didn't really go to my full depths of vulnerability. And I think that really pushed me to a whole nother level of, who I am and what I represent and what I want to be in this world as a person and also as a softball player. But more importantly just like a human of this is who I am and this is what I represent and always living that way. So just so intentional about every aspect of my life. And I've found that when you create good daily habits and you stay, they become habits, right? So you do them every day, you stay consistent with them,
Mm-hmm.
so many more things happen because of it rather than maybe doing them every now and then or when you feel like it or this or that. Like how you want to be, like create those into habits and live that every day. Like why wouldn't you want to do that?
Yeah.
And that's what, and before I was like off and on. You know, I was always like, some days yes, some days no, maybe yes, maybe not, and just kind of like, whatever, you know, just kind of living my days. But now they're just filled with so much like purpose and being intentional with so many different things that I think that you know, even going into the MPF, I would have never dreamt of all the things that came of that. But I think that it was the result of all the great habits that I built leading into it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so cool because you know, it's tough, especially for softball. You know, we're not super popular in the grand scheme of sports. You know, we don't not everybody gets to see the things that you go through, and so you see all you see the Olympic team, and you think, wow, straight shot to success. You know, you think those girls
Hmm.
probably just you know they just got
No,
it,
never.
and
It's
it's
never that way.
never like that. And
No.
do you feel like 2018, when you made the second team, do you feel like that was your first big, like you said, you hadn't faced that before, but in your life, was that your first big, face to face with big adversity?
With softball, yes. With my
Mm,
sports, yes. As far as
mm-hmm.
like personal life and stuff like that, I don't think I would say no. Um I would say going to Japan was that one for me.
Yeah, I would say so
Um
too.
yeah, but I think as far as softball wise and my athletic ability being questioned and my athletic ability being like, you know, put down a little bit, yeah, it was because I was always the kid that made the teams. I was always the kid that was one of the better ones out there. Like I was always that
Mm-hmm.
person. So as far as a sports wise, 100%. And it was huge for me because it took
Yeah.
my intent and my focus on what I was doing to a whole nother level. It became, instead of just doing things, it became like a purpose. Every single time I would do a drill, it had a purpose. And
Mm-hmm.
it really did make me better.
That's so great. I mean, it sucks that you went through it, but thank God you did, right?
Oh yeah. And I needed that extra little bit, you know, because even in my workouts, like when I'm working out and training in the gym, I'm thinking about the movements I'm making on the softball field with it. Like I needed to take my game to another level, and that helped me do that 100%.
Did it ever cross your mind in 2018 or 2019? Did it ever cross your mind to hang them up?
No, I was going for it no matter what.
That's awesome.
So
I love
you
it.
you have to drag me off the field and tell me I'm not allowed to come anymore before I was gonna hang them up.
Amanda, you're 75. It's time to go visit your grandkids. That's so great. Oh my gosh. Do you have any final like Chiddy-isms that you could lay on the world? I mean, no pressure because if you say no, then that's fine too. But
No, no, I do. I think that I've been saying this to my last few Zoom calls, so you know, maybe some people hear me repeat it, but just kind of like living, you know, living with no regrets has been my thing, and what that means to me is, you know, every choice that we make, you know, makes a difference in our lives. Every single decision that we make, you know, it makes the path of our life, and so we need to be intentional when we make those decisions, and know that, you know, what it is, like what are our priorities or what are our goals, like what are we wanting to achieve, like, and you put those there, and then based on that making those decisions, that way you never look back and think, oh, I wish I would have done it this way, or I wish I would have done it that way, you know. And I learned that, I guess, in 2016 when I, you know, stepped away from, I was coaching at Duke, and softball got back in the Olympics, and I couldn't live with myself if I tried balancing both and didn't make the team. So, but you know, if I, you know, went all in with just playing, and you know, quit coaching and just went all in with just playing and then didn't make the team, at least I knew I gave it literally everything that I had in
yeah,
me, and it just wasn't meant to be. So I think living that way has been huge for me, because I live that way in all the decisions and all the choices that I make on a day-to-day basis. Is like, am I going to regret this in the end? Like what do I truly want? And if that's what I want,
mhm.
okay, because we have the choices. I mean, we have the power to you know, do what we want in life and go for it. So
That's so true. And I would say you're probably thriving right now in all aspects, would you say, of your life? Everything kind of has aligned for you in this mentality.
absolutely, definitely things have aligned because I'm working towards the things that I want, and there's good days and there's bad days. You know, there's
Of course.
definitely days where you're just like, maybe you don't feel like you're enough, or maybe what you did that day just like didn't feel right, or you know, there's definitely bad days, but again,
Yeah.
staying consistent, like a lot goes a long way, and I try to stay on the course of that.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for talking to me and for
Of
being
course.
my best friend.
Thanks for
um,
having me on. I loved
yes,
it.
of course. I'm so glad we got to kind of dig deep into some of those things, especially some of the stuff that people might not know about you or stuff that you've never really talked about before. So thank you for your honesty and your openness. And I'll
Always.
text you later.
All right, sounds good.
Okay. Bye.